Good evening and welcome to Feedback this Tuesday evening. I'm Mark Despotakis. Thanks for joining us. Well, are you a creative person? Do you want to be creative? Now, I don't think I'm a real creative person. Well, today I'm going to find out, I guess, how I can become more creative. Stay with us. Feedback starts now. Good evening and welcome to Feedback. As I said, joining us today is the author of this book, this video, and he's done some other books, Jeff Tobe, and he's going to teach us, as it says, how to color outside the lines. Interesting metaphor. What does that mean? Has a lot to do with creativity. Are you creative? If not, how can you become more creative? So we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to get right into this. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to speak with Jeff. Stay with us. Feedback continues right after the break. This portion of the program was made possible through a grant from Clarion Hospital. Clarion Hospital is located off of Exit 9 of Interstate 80. Clarion Hospital offers outpatient services, transitional care, as well as an emergency room open around the clock every day of the year. More than 400 employees and 80 physicians work to serve the community. Call the Clarion Hospital at 226-9500. Clarion Hospital, providing health care to Clarion County and surrounding communities since 1954.
Hey, kid. My friend wants to know if that girl will go out with him. Pass it down.
Hey, Grandma, ask the girl on the end if she wants to go out with this loner.
The young man wants to know if the girl over there is a donor.
Somebody wants to know if you're an organ and tissue donor.
Yes.
Hey, me too.
Are you a donor? Make sure your family knows your decision so there's no question later.
Feedback starts now. And I said, you know, it wouldn't a better name for a movie to come out now, and I think I'm going to make the movie or write the book. It would be a great book to have, and you can call to get her book. You can also find it online. But I have a feeling I'm going to be rather opinionated, people I know. So let's ask them about scheduling. Why is it that students have such a problem here with?
Tune into Feedback with Mark Despotakis every Tuesday and Wednesday night beginning at 7:30 p.m.
We're totally out of time. No time to talk to you. We'll see you tomorrow.
This portion of the programming was made possible through a grant by the Captain Loomis Hotel and Restaurant. The Captain Loomis Hotel and Restaurant is located at 540 Main Street in Clarion and offers dining as well as a nightclub. The restaurant and nightclub are open 7 days a week for your convenience. Call the Captain Loomis Hotel and Restaurant, 226-8400.
Good evening, welcome back to Feedback. So as I was saying before, are you a creative person? Do you want to maybe be a little bit more creative? Well, today's guest tells me that it is indeed possible. Jeff Tobe, who has also been dubbed the guru of creativity and innovation, joins us.
That was actually by my mother. So.
Oh, your mother? Well,
yeah.
So was that not true there?
No, it is true. I'm just kidding.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So you claim you can make me more creative.
Oh, absolutely.
How the heck can you do that?
Absolutely. You know what? It's funny, Mark, because most people say that they're not creative.
I don't think I am.
You told me that before the show.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to start with the basis that everyone is creative. I mean, when were we most creative? When we were kids, right?
Oh, true.
Right. So it didn't just fall off. I mean, it's there inside every one of us. And
I
really what I talk about is how do you access that natural creativity? You know, and everyone has it. I think we've just been trained not to use it. So that's really where I come from with the creativity aspect.
How can I find it then?
Well, you know,
Lost.
it's not lost. I think you have to force yourself to do things differently, sort of look at things differently than you have before. I call it like getting outside your comfort zone, yes. You know, I often talk to audiences, large audiences, and I'll challenge them to get outside their comfort zone, and look at things differently, and I talk about habits. You know, what do you do in your life that's strictly a habit? You do it just because that's the way it's always been done before. As a matter of fact, appease me for a second. I'll prove this to you, but you're wearing a watch.
I'm wearing a watch.
Right, take it off.
Take it off. Taking my
Now,
watch
take off your watch. I'm going to challenge your audience to do the same.
All right, everybody
so
take your
take their
watches
watches off, and now put it on the other arm.
Okay.
Now,
simple.
this is actually if you've never done this before, you may need a buddy to do this.
I do.
We'll spend the rest of the show waiting
the
for
table,
you to put
I
yours
still
on.
can't do it. I thought the table, I can't.
That's right, we'll get you help at the
hold
break.
it.
We'll get you help at the break. The point is, it's awkward. I mean, and it's unbelievably awkward. And not only that, but it gained about a pound from one arm to the other.
Well, I can't even find that out.
But I guess the whole point is, have you ever heard of the 21-day rule?
No.
You know what that means? Basically, I'm glad you haven't heard because it comes from AA, so it's good to know if you don't know. But basically, 21 days to make, break, or change a habit.
Okay.
And so the key is that if we do anything, even changing our watch, as uncomfortable as it feels, if you do it for 21 days, it'll start to feel comfortable.
Well, I can't even get it on there.
So you got to get it on first, I guess. But so being creative really means doing things differently and practicing it for 21 days. Things that you normally wouldn't do, even driving home differently than you have before, taking a different route when you walk through campus, whatever it is. Just challenging yourself to try something differently.
Wow.
So.
Crayons are your metaphor for doing this. Why crayons?
Well, you know, it all comes from coloring outside the lines, really. And coloring outside the lines actually comes from my father, who gave me a poem when I was 10 years old. Not a very poetic kind of guy, but he found it. It was anonymously written. I was walking home one day, and I had the worst report card I'd ever received. I mean, I wasn't a bad student. I got A's and B's, but what I dreaded on the bottom of our report cards, you know, what was the one word we all had? That we all hated. Remember?
Well, there's a lot. But
yeah, well, mostly it was comments. You know, conduct.
Conduct, sure.
Oh, I got good grades, but what I hated was, you know, Jeffrey has seen the hallway more than our janitors, you know. Jeffrey is on a first-name basis with the principal. I don't know. Jeffrey won't stand in line when told to. Well, those kinds of things. And I was walking home when I was 10 years old, and I had the terrible report card. Not only did I have bad comments, but I had an F, one F for failure. I was scared to go home. And I walked home, and my dad basically didn't say a thing. He handed me a copy of a poem, and he said, "Here, read this." Now, like I say, he's not a very poetic kind of guy. He found it. It's anonymously written. But the first line is, "Coloring outside the lines is scary business." And it just became the metaphor for everything I do. It wasn't originally the name of my company or my book or anything, but I was walking through Chicago O'Hare one day, and a guy stopped me. He said, I know you. You're the Coloring Outside the Lines guy, the crayons guy. And as soon as he said that, I said, you know what, this works. And so we started to use it, and that's really a brand. Everything we send out from our office, as you know, is sent in crayon or in colorful markers.
I got this note from you guys. I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can see it from there, but it's all in different colors.
Multiple colors, and it just gives us a little bit of leeway. That's all. We have a lot of fun. I don't know if you notice on my card that I'm not president. I don't own the company. I'm actually the primary colorer. And I have an assistant colorer, director of coloring. We have fun.
Yeah, this is from Patty, your assistant colorer.
Exactly. Exactly.
So are you challenge them all the time to switch watches?
All the time. I drive them crazy, and they just said they'd like to put me back in the line sometimes.
Well, give me some practical tips that I can do every day. You know, what can I do to make my day more outside the lines, I guess?
You know what I say? I say, look for the second right answer. And it doesn't matter how old you are, what you do for a living, or what you do in life. I think that, you know, I talk to a lot of seniors, for example, senior citizens, and I find that they're always saying, well, I'm too old to try new things. And really all it is it's a questioning process. I'll give you a quick example. Chicago O'Hare Airport, and I walk into the bathroom stalls, and I see the neatest gadget I've ever seen.
Oh, no.
I hope I can go there. Is this family television?
No, go ahead.
All right, good. But it's an automatic seat cover. I mean, you press a button, and automatically this plastic seat cover comes out around the seat. Now, most people would look at that and just accept it for what it was, but I got to question the norm. So I open up the gadget, I look inside, and I realize you can rewind it manually. In other words, once it comes out, you can send it back. So it's not very sanitary, but now I've got an idea. So I reach into my briefcase, and I pull out a marker, and I wrote on it. You know, I put help. I'm stuck inside, and I can't get out and rewind it. I figure the next guy's got to come along, press that button, and just go crazy. But anyway, that, you know, as crazy as it sounds, I've trained myself to look at things differently. I call it an ASK. ASK, Alternative Solution Kick. It means when you think you got the right answer, you got to sort of do one of these and say, there's got to be a second right answer. There's got to be another way to look at things. All creativity is, and you asked me for some practical tips, I would say is all that people have to do is think about perspective. If you can allow yourself to take the perspective of the other person, of looking at things differently than you have before, it changes the way you look at everything, from problem solving to the way you work to everything you do in life. There's a great saying, you see the world through your, this is more sales end of things, but see the world through your customer's eyes, and you see the way your customer buys. Well, I say when we're dealing one-on-one with anybody, they're your customers. So how do we see things through their eyes? And my kids try to do this with me all the time. It just doesn't work.
I think every kid has tried to do that. I've tried to do that.
So it's looking for that second right answer. It's questioning the norm all the time. And it really is making yourself get outside that comfort zone, just trying some crazy things sometimes, but there's a warning, by the way, that comes with coloring outside the lines. It's okay to color outside the lines as long as you don't fall off the page.
There you go.
Right. So you got to figure out where is the edge of the page for you personally. How far can you go before you've colored too far? But, I would venture most people are not at the edge of the page yet.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, because we must stay inside the lines.
Absolutely.
We're so busy anymore, it seems, or at least we claim to be. As someone's at home saying, I'm not going to do this, because then I have to stop and think about another way to do this, respond to that person at home.
Oh, I get it all the time. I don't have enough time to be creative. I don't have time. We don't have time not to be creative. I think one of the things that we kind of skipped over is why be more creative? If there isn't a reason. And I think number one reason above all else is to have more fun. And would you agree with me? People want to do business with, they want to work with, they want to be friends with people who seem to enjoy what they do for a living. So it makes sense to me that people need to have more fun. So number one reason is to have more fun. I also think that no matter what people are doing in life right now, things are changing so rapidly. Business is changing and education is changing that we really have to look at things different. We have to color outside the lines. I'll give everybody a challenge. Next time they get into your cars, I want them to try something, just for viewers. I want them to drive home from wherever they are, only looking in their rearview mirrors. No, I'm only kidding. You couldn't do it, right?
No.
But yeah, don't do that at home. Don't try that.
Try the watch.
Right, exactly. But why I say that is because I find that so many people are still getting into their proverbial cars every day. Whatever it is they do, what do? We approach what we're doing, only looking in our rearview mirrors, to see how it's always been done before. Great saying. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. By the way, a great book on the market. Robert Krieger, a friend of mine, wrote a book. Actually, I haven't read the book, I have to admit, but I love the title. If it ain't broke, break it.
Break it.
Right?
There you go.
And I think that should be our motto in life. We have to break some rules. And so the goal is stop looking in your rearview mirror, start looking through your windshield to see what's coming down the road ahead of you, instead of relying on the way it's always been done before. So another key reason, I think, is exactly that. Just we have to stop doing things the way they've always been done, because things are changing, so rapidly. Right. I think one more reason, a third reason, would be to add value to what you do. Nowadays it's just not good enough to be normal. And I say that tongue-in-cheek, but I mean, especially in business, it's so competitive right now. Things out there, as students are going out and they're competing in the marketplace for the same positions, you have to be more creative. People are looking for that differentiation in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, you use the car metaphor. You'd think the way I drive, I'm probably the most creative person in the world. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about being creative, how to get you're tired of your life, it's boring. How can you change that by being a little more creative? Stay with us. Feedback continues after this.
Possible through a grant by Fox's Pizza Den. Fox's Pizza Den is located on Old Route 66 in Clarion and offers all-day delivery. Phone 226-5555. That's 226-5555. Fox's Pizza Den is open 7 days a week for your convenience. Phone 226-5555.
This portion of the programming was made possible through a grant by the Carpet Barn. The Carpet Barn is located at 470 South 5th Avenue in Clarion. The Carpet Barn is open Monday through Saturday for all your carpet needs. So call the Carpet Barn, 226-7332.
Wardrobe for some TV5 news anchors provided by Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall. Whether you're looking for junior trendy, girls, or fashion for women, they have it all. with many different styles. Fashion Bug also offers a wide selection of accessories. Fashion Bug is located in the Clarion Mall, just off of Exit 9 of Interstate 80. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. till 9 p.m., and Sunday from noon till 5.
On the there's only one safe place for kids. The front seat's not the place to drop out. Don't want that big old bag to pop out. Put that booties in the backseat. That bag of kids should never be out. Here to remind you to put them behind you. Wow, look at here. You stay alive even when I drive.
All right, welcome back. I'm still trying to get the watch on. Not working. Well, this looks a little different, doesn't it? Jeff made me move to be a little bit more creative. What are we doing over here?
You know, I had to take him hostage over here. So.
What is this?
You know, I was thinking as we were sitting on the other set that my fondest memory of elementary school, right? Teacher would come in and say, you know, let's go on a field trip. Let's go outside for class today. Why do we remember it so fondly?
Well, because it was fun to get something different.
Exactly, it was different. And I think one of the keys to being more creative is shattering the stereotype of the experience people expect to have with you. I bet every one of your guests has stayed on that
they
set.
have.
So, and I wanted to get you outside your comfort zone a little bit, you know? And one of the things I got to tell you, in my book, I talk about the fact that we need to take field trips, even as adults. When we consult with companies or organizations, the first thing we do is take them on a field trip, as crazy as it sounds. These are executives, CEOs. What we do is we go somewhere that has nothing to do with their business. And their challenge is to find ideas there that they can bring back and sort of massage a little that would work for their companies. We recently took a whole group to Heinz, the ketchup plant.
Really?
And it was great, just to see how things are done differently, take those processes. And they're an engineering group. I mean, it had nothing to do with what they do for a living. But that's why I thought it'd be different to change the set a little bit here.
Yeah, so Carrie and Kelly will be here, you know, kind of creeping up on us, kicking us off to do the news after the show. But
can't we stay?
No, wait. No, well, maybe. Yeah, well,
hey, we can let them.
Yeah, we'll move out of the way.
Yeah.
One thing that I said to you a little earlier is it's like that every day is the same. I wake up, I go to work, I go to the meetings, I do whatever, I go home and I go to bed. How do we change our mundane lives?
You know,
I'm bored.
I gave a warning to your viewers before. I have to give one more warning. You can also be too creative, so you have to be careful. I was fired for being too creative in that mundane life, and I have to share with you very quickly. I was working for an insurance company in Toronto, Ontario, and I got my check one day, and I realized I couldn't afford to pay my bills. So, but I worked in an office with about 400 people. So I walked around and sold tickets. You know, for $5, you could win my paycheck. First week I made about $1,200, and the second week they fired me for starting an illegal lottery. So changing that mundane life is great, but the problem you have sometimes is that you can be too creative. You know what? I think people need to do it for themselves more than anything else. Like I say, just taking a different route home or doing something a little differently in their everyday routine. And we all fall into it. Even I found myself falling into it, and I have to put the brakes on a little bit and say, wait a second, you know, I got to do something. Although it was outside the lines when I did it, now it's the norm. So every time you stretch, you have to stretch a little more.
Now, a lot of this is involved in the communication process. You said over there that when we're communicating, you're my customer, and I'm your customer.
Absolutely.
Half of it is talking and half of it's listening. What's the creative role in each of those parts?
Well, actually, I have to correct you because I think more than half is listening. I think that, you know, for most of us who like to be in front of the camera, talking is more than half, but it shouldn't be. If we could do less than half the talking and do 60% listening, it would change the way that you communicate with people. In the book, I talk about being creative and listening, listen to the whole listening process. And I get that from my kids more than anything. I realize that as a kid, and I'm sure they're the same way, our parents, our guardians never said to us, you are an amazing listener. They never told us that. Yet we got punished for not listening in school, you know. Or as a parent, I used to find myself before I started looking at the communication process, saying to my kids, you know, you're just not listening to me. Didn't you hear what I said? So we're always punished for not listening. We were never rewarded for listening. I'm trying a new experiment with my kids. They're only 12 and 9 right now, but, you know, they bring home good grades, and I'll say to them, you are an amazing listener. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but we'll see what happens, you know. I think listening is key to the communication process. Of course, it takes both, listening and talking. But listening, if we can become more effective listeners, and I'm working on it. You can see I'm not doing a good job with you, but because I keep talking. But, but I think if we became more effective listeners, we'd become more effective in our business lives and our personal lives. And that really does relate to being more creative. And you have to be creative. To do things differently means listening more. That's all.
We want you to keep talking. These people hear me
Great.
all the time.
Great.
Let's relate this to something like I'm a salesperson. I mean, how do I make the sale, and how do I do that creatively, or marketing myself even to someone who could potentially say, oh, I want to buy that?
I had an experience I have to share with you, and I think it'll answer your question too. I was driving around in Dallas, Texas in a rental car. I had about 4 hours to kill until my plane took off. I turn a corner in Dallas, and there in front of me is a building that says Dallas Fine Cars. You know, luxury automobiles at their best. And I thought, I've never sat behind the wheel of a real nice car. So I get out of the car, I look through the window, and there in the middle of the showroom floor is the most beautiful, biggest, reddest Mercedes-Benz I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just want to sit behind the wheel. Do we have a stereotype of the typical car salesperson in North America?
Go in and they're
absolutely.
Paying,
you know, now you know, you have listeners who are probably great salespeople, but I got to tell you, there's still that stereotype. And I'm walking through the door of this showroom, and all I'm thinking is vulture. You know, I'm not going to enjoy the experience. I push open the door, and before I even get through the door frame, my stereotype is completely shattered. Why?
Why?
Because a woman approaches.
A woman.
Now, I would venture to guess that your female viewers did not guess a woman when I talked about the stereotypical car salesperson, because we think of a man. It was great. Woman approaches me. I'm not even through the door. She looks at me, and my stereotype is completely shattered, but she doesn't let me down. You know? First words out of her mouth, any retail situation, they say what?
Can I help you?
And we right away we say, no thanks, just looking. It's like one of those defensive things, you know, I don't know, we just say it. And I said, no thanks, just looking. She looked at me, she said, step into my office. Now, I'm not even through the door yet. Step into my office. And she turned her back and she walked away. I'm thinking to myself, I don't want this high-pressure stuff, I'm leaving. So I turn my back and I leave, and as I do, I glance over my shoulder. You know what she's done? She's gone to the back door of that red Mercedes-Benz. She must have seen me looking in the window. And gone to the back door, opened up the back door, slid into the back seat, big smile on her face, 2 open doors, yells at me, you know, come on, step into my office. I was back. It's been a long time since I've been in the backseat of a car with a woman. And my wife will tell you it was never a Mercedes-Benz. The point I'm trying to make is, it went through this whole process. No, I didn't buy the car, you know, but she had me in the backseat smelling the leather. I mean, it was that crazy. And what I think was happening, it really occurred to me, was this. It completely shattered the stereotype of the experience I expected to have walking through those doors. And one of the things I say to people is, especially salespeople, on your mind has to be, how do we shatter the stereotype of the experience my customer expects to have with me? And that's how we become more creative. It means walking in the door asking them something different than, can I help you? It means, you know, sitting in the back seat of the car instead of the front. So it's just really looking at things differently from a different perspective.
I wish we had another half hour to do this, but we can't be creative in the advertising world.
I understand.
Also, just to point out here, your kids helped to illustrate some things in
Absolutely.
this book,
This is the only book in the entire world illustrated by my then 8-year-old.
Where you can find that artwork. And where can we get the book?
ColoringOutsideTheLines.com.
Okay, that's where you can go. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I will say goodbye. Stay with us. Feedback continues after the break. Complete coverage of local, state, national, and international news as it happens? Then tune into Clarion's very own TV5 News Live for complete coverage of the Clarion area and our world. TV5 News crews join with crews from the world's news leaders, CNN, to provide complete coverage of the day's events. With advanced satellite capabilities, TV5 News can bring you the latest news as it happens. So tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday night for Clarion's very own TV5 News Live.
Hi everybody, I'm Brandy. How would you like to give hope to millions of the world's children? UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, is saving lives in over 140 countries by providing kids with medicine, clean water, nutrition, and education. With your help, UNICEF can make a huge difference in our world. For more information, call 1-800-FOR-KIDS. Thank you.
Welcome back. I'm still trying to get this watch thing. I will get the watch on the other hand. This was just too much fun today. Once again, thank Jeff Tobe for joining us. The book again, Coloring Outside the Lines. You too can learn how to be creative. I'm going to try to do it in my day. We are not on with you tomorrow night, but we will be back in a week from tomorrow. Very special feedback for you on Wednesday, April 18th is the date of that at 7:30 p.m. We're flying with Stat Medevac from out at the Clarion Hospital. Tune in for that. We had a lot of fun out there. We've already taped it. Tune in for that. Stay tuned. Coming up next is, well, they're going to kick me out of here. Carrie LaPoo and Kelly Esno are coming in to do TV5 News Live at 8 p.m. They're going to kick me off the set. I don't know how they feel about me being on the set here and sitting right on the desk. But they will be in with the news. Actually, no, it's Amanda Miller and Susan Honorad tonight. It's Tuesday. How about that? So stay tuned for that coming up, and we will see you back here next week. Have a good week.